Hi everybody. Today in this video, I am discussing R K Narayan's novel, The Guide. As you all know, R K Narayan is a very important writer from India. He is considered as one among the great trio, Mulk Raj Anand, R K Narayan, and Raja Rao are considered as three pillars of Indian English novel before independence. Of course, R K Narayan, Raja Rao, and Mulk Rajanan continued to write even after India's independence. R K Narayan's contribution to Indian English novel is immense. He is the man who contributed wonderful novels set in the fictional town of Malgudi, which is popularly known as Malgudi in his novels. R K Narayan's novels are famous for the presentation of South India. At the same time, they are famous for presenting the life of India during the post-independence period. The present novel, The Guide, was published in 1958. It brought him Sahitya Akademi Award. R K Narayan also wrote wonderful novels like Swami and His Friends, The Bachelor of Arts, The English Teacher, The Guide, Man Eater of Malgudi, Vendor of Sweets, Waiting for Mahatma. But The Guide brought him greater name after its publication in 1958. This novel is set in the fictional South Indian town of Malgudi because Malgudi remains a common place in all his novels, whether it is Vendor of Sweets, Waiting for Mahatma, Man Eater of Malgudi, Malgudi Days. In all these novels and short stories, Malgudi is a common town. There is a Sarayu River, the Mempi Hills, Anand Bhavan. These are the places we see in his literary creations. To talk about the Malgudi, it is wonderfully depicted in The Guide. Let us discuss the story of Malgudi. In the novel The Guide. Who is the guide here? Where does he live? What is the significance of the guide? Is all the interesting part of this novel, The Guide, written by R K Narayan. The novel begins with the end part of the story, or the second part of the story, actually. It's in R K Narayan has used a flashback technique, what we see in the modern films. In the beginning, we see Raju meeting Velen after serving 2 years of imprisonment in a forgery case. Years, he is not ready to go. He's thinking of his past and future, Somehow he is trying to avoid going back to Malgudi. It is during this time he comes in contact with a villager called Velen, who has come to seek advice for his half sister, because he has been asking her to marry the person of his choice and she is not listening to him. He came and spoke to Raju, and Raju wanted someone to speak to him in such a place where he was sitting alone. So this conversation was developed between Raju and Valen, and finally Raju agreed to speak to the girl. And when he speaks to the girl agrees, because Raju is already famous for his communication skills, convincing skills. And when Raju speaks about marriages, how it is important to accept elders' advice, and how it is already written in their destiny, the girl agrees. And Raju is considered as a great Swamiji by Velen. And the news is spread in Mangal. When the girl has spoken very good of Raju, and Raju became a famous Swamiji there. Events move on. Raju has to go on a fast for inviting rain. It is during this time Raju recounts the story of his past to Valen. He tells him that he is not the Swamiji who is pure. He had a different past. He begins to tell the story of his past. And Raju tells him that when he was a boy, he lived in Malgudi with his mother and father. His father was maintaining a shop. When there was a railway station, Raju eventually grew with the railway station. And after his father's death, he came to run his father's spacious shop. Raju is described as a very talkative and highly impressive young man. He was cunning, no doubt about it. He had a good communication skills, and he loved talking to the people. He had the trick of the trade. So he can talk about any subject matter to the tourists, to the passengers, to the friends. So gradually, Raju became a kind of a guide, and he was popularly known as Railway Raju, the guide. And obviously, he developed such skills that he can convert any small matter into magnificent matter, a small building into a historical monument. He had that tract of converting everything into a story. This leads to further events in the novel. One day, Raju came in contact with a historian called Marco, who wanted to write a book on art and culture of South India. And he came with his wife, Rosie, with him. Here starts the conflict in the novel. Raju became very intimate with Rosie as Marco was busy with his research in Mempi caves. And Raju tried to understand what Rosie's interests are, and he came to know that Rosie was very much interested in dance. Once he took her to the show where there was a Nagin dance, and uh, she was dancing to the tune of a snake charmer, and he came to know that she was a very good dancer. She had her own history, of course. Rosie was the daughter of a temple dancer. She belongs to a low caste. She had to marry Marco because Marco never saw the caste as an issue, and that's why she married Marco, whether she liked him or not. But Marco never liked her dancing dreams. This is a problem. In this way, Marco and Rosie had a terrible marriage, and they were quarreling over this issue, which Raju considered to be an opportunity. He made use of this opportunity and tried to get benefit out of it. And he encouraged her dancing interests uh, to bring about a kind of a separation between Rosie and Marco. He was successful in that because by this time Raju fell in love with Rosie, and soon they begin to live together. Marco observed this kind of intimacy between Rosie and Raju, and he had no other choice but to go um, out. So he left Rosie in Malgudi, and Rosie had to go to Raju since she had no other choice. And she began to stay with Raju in his house. Of course, Raju's mother did not accept Rosie in the beginning because she called her serpent woman, a kind of a Nagin. But somehow she tolerated for some time, and she tried to convince him through her elder brother. She called her elder brother and asked him to advise Raju, but Raju didn't listen to the words of his uncle. And obviously, Raju's mother left him and she went with her brother. Raju began to encourage Rosie for public performances. Soon she became very popular. He also renamed her as Nalini. Nalini became a famous dancer in the country. And Raju was a greedy man. He exploited and made her dance in various places, earn money. He led a lavish life. He appointed a secretary. Money was his secretary. So obviously, Raju was enjoying all the pleasures on the earnings of Rosie. In the meanwhile, Raju became very possessive of Rosie, and he tried to avoid the thought of her husband, the thought of her past, and he wanted to make more and more money out of that. He became too much materialistic in this way. In the meanwhile, Marcos published his book, The Cultural History of South India. In fact, he mentioned Raju and thanked him for providing information in the acknowledgement. he sent the book to Rosie, but he did not give her because she may be driven by the idea of going back to her husband. So he avoided this. But somehow Mani told Rosie about the book, and Rosie was disappointed with Raju because he did not show her the book. She argued with Raju and she felt bad for this. So she was not happy with Raju because of his behavior. In the meanwhile, the second incident happened. The second incident is that there was a letter from lawyer for Rosie to send signature for receiving a box of jewelry from a joint account holder. In fact, it was sent by Marco through his lawyer. When Raju received this letter, he got an idea of grabbing the jewelry without informing Nalini or Rosie. He decided to forge the signature of Rosie and sent back the papers. His dream was to get the jewelry box. He thought that it must be a box with more jewelry from which he can make a lot of money. But the things didn't go according to his plan. A reversal happened here. Marco was able to trap Raju in this, and Raju was arrested. When Nalini was giving a dance performance, the superintendent of police came and arrested Raju for forging the signature of Rosie or Nalini, and he was sent to jail. Raju was somehow successful in getting 2 years jail term instead of 7 years as per the law through an intelligent lawyer. However, Rosie was very much disappointed and she left for Madras and lived. So 2 years of jail term transformed Raju. He was contemplating on his future. This is what we see in the beginning of the novel, a flashback. Again, we go back to Mangal, where he met Velen, where he already made a name as a Swamiji. And by this time, he was very, very famous. His words are considered as very, very important. Raju was enjoying another height of his development. It was during this time another incident happened. Mangal was facing drought and there were no rains at all. It was during this time a boy miscommunicates the villagers that Raju or Swamiji is going on a fast till it rains. And this leads to another series of events in this novel. And Raju had to go on fasting under strange circumstances. He decided not to go on fasting. He calls Velen and tells him that he is not a spiritual guru. He told him all about his past, his purvashram, that he was like any other man. The story that we have already discussed about Raju's father, mother, railway station, shop, his meeting with Rosie. Uh, Even in spite of telling the story, Velen considers that Raju has a great spiritual power, and this very trust of Velen and the villagers transform Raju into a yogi. Even during the time of fasting, an American documentary maker, Malin, came to witness Raju. All the events come to a conclusion on the 11th day of his fasting. Raju seemed to have a kind of an enlightenment. On the final day, he asked Velen to take him to the river, and when Velen took him by hand, led him to the bank of the river, Raju was witnessing the sunrise in the early morning, and his last words, of course, in the novel, Velen, it's raining in the hills. I can feel it coming up under my feet, up my legs. End quote. He sat down. It's not clear whether Raju died or whether it rained. Surely there is some kind of enlightenment. Surely there is some kind of prophetic note in Raju's words. He fasted for 11 days and he sat down. Raju's end is kept in suspense. The reader has to understand what happened to Raju. The whole story ends with Raju uttering these words and he sat down. So, looking at this novel, what we learn from this novel is the portrayal of South Indian society, for which R K Narayan is always special. Through Malgudi, Malgudi is a microcosm of South India, through which we can see many things. There is a river called Sharayu, there is Mempi Hills, there is Anand Bhavan, Malgudi railway station. It's like any other town in South India. So through Malgudi, R K Narayan proved to be one of the most important regional novelists of India, like Thomas Hardy's Wessex, Arnold Bennett's Pottery, or Black Country novels. R K Narayan's Malgudi novels are famous for all of us. The novel deals with the theme of hypocrisy. Of course, Raju's hypocrisy, saying one thing, doing another thing. He is a hypocrite. In that way, he cheated Nalini, he cheated Rosie, he cheated Marco. He used to cheat everybody to fulfill his dreams because he was driven by materialism, material benefit. Of course, the novel ends with the transformation of Raju. He was transformed. The love of the people, the reverence of the people changed Raju's mindset. He really became a Swamiji at the end. The major characters in the novel are Raju, Rosie, Marco, Valen. Other minor characters are there, like his mother, his uncle, a lawyer. Raju is a major character. The whole story of Raju is already expressed. Rosie, how she married Marco, what were her interests, how innocent she was, how she was exploited by Raju. Marco, a typical research scholar, how he was so much obsessed with research, how he was not able to care for his own wife. Velen, a villager, represents the innocence, represents the bhakti, and how he is responsible for transforming Raju into a Swami are all the interesting facts of this novel. We shall discuss more about this novel in the next video. Thank you very much. We can also see the other novels of R K Narayan, like The Man Eater of Malgudi, Vendor of Sweets, in the upcoming videos. Until then, see you.